this is the next video, continuing in the series. The last video I dealt with the mystical experience. So as we can conclude from the last video, and what I said at the end of the last video, was that with the mystical experience, the major problem is with the with the sporadic mystical experience or the instantaneous mystical experience. These are the experiences wherein one has a vision or hears something or sees something or is taken into an astral projection and experiences something fantastic, which are all valid and documented phenomenon. However, they're not verified. So the difference between validation and verification is that they're valid. We know that people have these experiences, but they've not been verified. They have, by very few people, actually been practiced and honed as a skill to the point where they have complete control over the experience and understand the mechanics of the experience. So, when you have a mystical experience, you cannot take it at face value, period, unless you are practiced in that particular experience. You know how it works. You've gone down all the avenues. You've done all the experimentation and all the testing, and you have been able to validate that the experience is a real experience, and you know what pieces of that experience can actually be taken as true information. And so that was the last video. So to all you people out there, I highly recommend you do not use any mystical experience as a validation of whatever concept it delivered to you. What I suggest is practicing that experience or trying to reproduce it at will. And it may take years to do this, but once you have it down, you can experiment with it. You can see what the different aspects of it is, and then you can validate specific aspects of the experience with which then you can make your conclusion. Okay, so this video is not on the mystical experience. However, it is something similar to or a derivation of the mystical experience. Now the problem is, with any church really, not just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the problem is that people base their experience and interaction with the physical world, whatever this is out here, whatever this inside here is experience this out here, they're basing their interaction with the physical world on a presupposed belief. And religions call this faith. However, I believe the term faith has been completely misconstrued and completely misunderstood according to how the prophets and sages of the old world deliver it or speak about it. Now, here's an example. I was raised in the church, and by the time I was 21 years old, I had repeated, not just to myself, but to an entire audience of members of the church, that I know the church is true. I know that Joseph Smith is a prophet, and I know that Jesus Christ is my personal Savior. And I bear this testimony to you that the words I speak are true. Think about this for a second. Church leaders recommend that in order to strengthen one's testimony, you must bear it to others. Big problem here. Bearing it to others is called, or let's see. Okay, this is a kind of twist on auto suggestions and affirmations. When you're trying to achieve something, or when you're trying to get yourself to believe something wholeheartedly enough that you begin to act on it, especially in the occult world and in the self-help world, people often say, repeat to yourself over and over what you want to be true, and soon as it instills into your subconscious mind, your conscious mind begins to react as with your subconscious mind does, and you begin to act in that manner. So if I want to quit smoking, I tell myself I am a non-smoker, I am addiction-free, that kind of thing, multiple times per day. It is recommended actually to do it 40 times in the morning while you're still, in a sort of subconscious state, so it's easier to feed it into your subconscious mind. And 40 times at night as you go to sleep. That way, as you repeat it to yourself over and over and you're going to sleep, it feeds more and more and more into your subconscious mind. Well, what research has found is that by saying it in your head alone is effective. Saying it out loud increases its effectiveness dramatically. Saying it out loud to other people is extremely powerful and causes the self to believe in it wholeheartedly. So what are we doing? We're saying it out loud in front of a ton of other people. You are solidifying that belief so deeply and so, deeply into your subconscious mind that it becomes a base, core structure of who you are and how you interact with the world. So there was a time in my life where, in fact, I may have even spoken these actual words, that I knew the church was true so solidly and so deeply in my soul that no amount of evidence could have shaken my faith. That's dangerous. Not only is that dangerous, but that's extremely dangerous. Dangerous, yeah. So here we go. Here's the precursor to the rest of these videos. Are you the type of person that would say, I know so wholly and so solidly that my beliefs are true that nothing anybody could say to me or show me would shake my faith? And if you are, consider this. Okay. Consider you have a box and it has nothing in it, and you have a friend, and you tell your friend that you have something special in this box. In fact, it is so special, it is one of the richest, most powerful artifacts in the universe. And you get your friend to believe in you. You tell him so honestly and so fully that he believes that you have something in this box, when in fact you actually have nothing in the box. And you get your friend to tell his friends about it, and he starts bearing, oh no, my friend wouldn't lie to me. I know there's something in that box. There's definitely one of the most powerful artifacts in the universe contained inside that box. I know it to my core. And he begins to rattle this off to his friends, and he begins to believe it so vividly that nothing you could say or do would convince him otherwise. Now, one of his friends approaches him, and he got some snapshots of what's inside that box, and he shows him that the box is empty. And he starts, contriving, oh, these are fraud snapshots, or these, they're not real, or perhaps it was a picture of the box when the object was removed from it. And he starts to, justify the images. And so one day, you yourself, feeling somewhat bad for tricking your friend, so decide to show him what's inside the box. And you say, sorry, I've tricked you. I'm sorry. there actually isn't anything in this box here. Take a look. You open it for him, he looks inside and sees nothing. Chances are that even what you tell him, he's not going to believe. Chances are he's going to come to some conclusion that will continue to satiate that faithful desire in the object in the box. He may conclude that, well, perhaps the object is invisible. Perhaps you're just messing with him because he wants to believe that there is an artifact in this box that is basically a utility of the gods. It is this extremely powerful artifact. Something of that nature would probably not be visible to the physical eyes, right? Perhaps you've removed it, and you yourself have fallen into greed and desire to use the artifact only for yourself and to veer others away from believing that it actually exists. Okay? So now you've created this monster, and this kid believes that there's still an artifact that you, in fact, know does not exist at all. You built the box. You never had an artifact. You never even saw an artifact. You just started telling your friends that there is actually an artifact in this box. Now, how did this happen? How did this happen? We have to think of the psychology of this. What is belief? What is faith? Okay? The Book of Mormon tells us that faith is a belief in something that is not seen, but in fact does exist. That's counterproductive. That's not a real definition. Personally, I believe faith is the belief in something that may possibly be, but that has a means experimentally to an end of knowledge of that fact. So, for example, and I use this all the time, let's talk about astral projection. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's interesting, and I like to experiment with it. I know there's a lot of Christians and others out there that think that it's of the devil, and I wholeheartedly disagree. First off, because I cannot prove that it is not just happening in my mind. And second, the gravity of the possibilities is staggering. The ability to, even if it is within your own mind, the ability to project consciously into a setting designed by your own mind and interact with aspects of yourself, subconscious aspects, and convince them and talk to them and actually change yourself from the inside consciously. It's like being a mechanic on your own mind. And I think there's a lot of really amazing things that can happen in this state. I also think that it can be volatile and dangerous if used the wrong way. However, here's the story, okay? Here's some faith for you. I had never had this experience. I've never had an astral projection at this time. And I read a lot of books. I heard a lot of people talk about it. And I began to become curious. So I studied it, and I began to practice the exercises that purportedly gave rise to the experience of astral projection. Lo and behold, one day, I have my first astral projection experience, though I did not completely get out of my body. I was laying on my couch, and I got halfway out and seemed to be, fixated to my body at my navel center. I tried to, push myself from my body, but it wasn't having it. Though I do recall being stuck halfway out of my body and trying to get out. That was a legitimate experience, and I remember it as I'm describing to you. As I continued to exercise this ability, I had more and more experiences to the point where I literally went from meditation directly to actually leaving my body, looking at my body, floating around the world, flying at Mach speed 2 inches away from the ocean surface. I mean, I had some good times, and it was fascinating experiences. However, though the phenomenon exists, I had not yet, still have not yet, validated it as actually being out of body, though the experience itself is real. So here's the thing. I had faith that what these people were talking about and all this literature actually had some merit to it. So I faithfully followed these procedures, okay, and practices, which eventually gave rise to my own experience, which gave me the knowledge that the experience of astral projection was a real phenomenon. That's an example of faith giving rise to knowledge. Now, had I never had that experience, and years passed by, I would have probably eventually lost that faith and concluded that astral projection does not exist, and if it does, it's something that not everybody can attain. Okay, so to me, my definition of faith is a belief in something that can be worked towards to receive a knowledge of its existence. This idea that we are to hold on to this faith, quote unquote, for the rest of our lives, believing in God, in Jesus, and the Savior of mankind without any evidence, I think is a completely fraudulent understanding of what faith is supposed to be. Faith is supposed to be a stepping stone to knowledge. It's not supposed to be something we kind of like hang on to till the end. It's supposed to be a stepping stone. It's supposed to be enough belief that something could possibly exist that we take the steps to achieving or activating an experience that relays to us the full knowledge of that line of faith. So, this being said, I would ask that everybody who watches this video, if you are the type of person that believes so fully in what you believe, that you would conclude that any proof presented that the church is not true or that Joseph Smith is a fraud, if you would stop for a second, take a step back, and objectively look at this situation. Knowing what I've presented already, knowing the psychology behind blind faith, and knowing my personal definition of what true faith is, take a step back and look at this stuff objectively. Look at the evidence given. Okay. Look at, and I'm going to present the apologist's explanation as well. I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to give both sides of the account, and I'm going to give both explanations of the account, and I want you to just step back for a second and consider both sides without allowing your core belief and your biased glasses coming between you and the evidence presented. So, that being said, this is kind of the introduction of how I would appreciate the viewers to take a look at this information and perceive it. I believe we're coming up on my time limit here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorder. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video, which is going to be the next step. See ya.